All right. Looks like we are live, but we got to let it breathe just for a minute here to bring on Facebook, and then we're going to get things cooking here tonight. What's up to everybody? And we are good. Welcome in, everybody. It is the Mile High Huddle podcast. I'm your host, Chad Jensen, and conspicuously not with me tonight is my co-host, Zach Kelberman. And apologies for the late start, guys. We had a little thing or two come up tonight that was unavoidable. So Zach will be back tomorrow. I missed Thursday. He's missing tonight, but trust, he had a really good reason tonight, and it was kind of last minute, so it kind of delayed us a little bit. But I'm stoked to be here with y'all. Like the Papa Bear jumping in early with a super, saying, "Hey, good evening, Broncos country." Chad, Zach, and Deacon Scott, 12-5. Buckham, MHH for life, Broncos for life, Bonos, Knicks for 6. Let me tell you something, David. I really appreciate you, my friend. Every single stream. First one without fail. Breaking the ice for us on Super Chat. You the man. I'd be giving you bones like this. Boom. You know it. Appreciate you, bro. Cody Cooper. Hey, longtime listener, first time chatter. How's our wide receiver depth chart looking? You know, it ain't as bad as they try to make it sound. Let's examine, right? Cortland Sutton, technically kind of in the wind right now, but he will be back. If it's not right before training camp, it will be within the ensuing few days of training camp. So don't worry too much about that. So you got as your X and number one receiver, Cortland Sutton will be there for Bo Nix. Then you've got a Tim Patrick who is claiming that he's back to pre-injuries form. We'll get into that a little bit later. You've got a second-year All-Pro / Pro Bowler, albeit a returner, All-Pro, etc. But Marvin Mims Jr. looking to, chomping at the bit, dude, to take that step and get more involved in the offense, and especially now that Jerry Jeudy is gone. Sean Payton and company, part of the rationale for making that trade was to give and create the room for Mims to grow. So those three right there, that's a pretty solid top three headlined by veterans, even though Mims is second-year guy, he's still a veteran. Then you got the new guys, right? You got the 4th-round pick out of Oregon, who just happened to be Bo Nix's number one target at Oregon, Troy Franklin. Devon Vele coming in the 7th round. We'll see how much he impacts things. He's more of kind of a, hey, let's take a flyer on a guy and see what happens. But Lil Jordan Humphrey was brought back. They signed Josh Reynolds, did the Broncos in free agency. So is it a depth chart, Cody, that is replete with superstars? No. But is there a wide receiver depth chart in the NFL that is just one Pro Bowler after another? No. So I'm actually a lot more confident about this wide receiver core, but it does have some warts, and those warts come in the form of relative inexperience and injury concerns, right, with Tim Patrick. If you didn't have those injury concerns with Tim Patrick, I'd feel even much more excited and confident in the wide receivers. But I'm stoked on it, and I think it's going to shake out pretty well. It will be interesting to see competition-wise how much the rookies really factor into things. And if Bo Nix does what I expect him to do, and that is take control of the quarterback competition about 2-3 weeks into training camp, first week or two of preseason, then it'll be interesting to see how much Troy Franklin factors into an increased snap share and rep share and all that. So it'll be interesting to see. But Tim Patrick, guys, in case you missed him, by the way, tonight, again, apologies for the very late start. As a result, we'll probably keep it pretty tight, flying solo. But I did miss you guys. I hate missing episodes. Sometimes I have to, though, and I'm lucky enough to either have a co-host that can just hold it down by himself or great members on staff like Scott sometimes. Most of the time on this show, if there's a sub, it's going to be Scott. And just a great staff. But I do always regret and lament and definitely have some FOMO when I'm not with you guys on a MHH podcast evening. So I hope it was a good chat for you guys. But Michael Ronquillo jumping in with some props and stars on Facebook, as he is wont to do. Love you, big dog. Hope you're doing well. Hashtag the Ronk, always getting things rolling for us. Also on Facebook, you are a prince. And look, there's not a lot of news per se to get to. So any topics specifically you want to dive into from a conversation, we'll get into it. But here's why we titled the episode around Tim Patrick and his message to 2024 opponents. The Denver Broncos team website had an interesting conversation with Tim Patrick, and he talked about how he's feeling. Basically, he's back. He's back to the form he was in 3 years ago before he suffered that torn ACL in training camp. Worked his way. I mean, that's a lot of work, man. Plus the mental uh, gymnastics you have to overcome to get yourself back in a year's time. He gets back, boom, Achilles. That was, he said, the darkest. It was a dark time in his life. That first day of tearing the Achilles, man, that was a dark time. But he overcame it. He bounced back. And he is kind of flexing on what he believes he's bringing to this offense. And this is what he said, quote, "I pride myself on being able to do a little bit of everything. And I feel like when you have that wild card on the field, a defense can't home in on, hey, this guy's going to do that. This guy's going to do that. With me, I can do everything on the field. So they have to play me honest. And once you play me honest, I feel like I'm going to win my one-on-one most of the time. I think I can help with just keeping drives longer, with tough catches on third down and making those plays that people don't expect you to make for touchdowns or first downs. I think the biggest thing I'm going to bring is keeping the offense on the field for longer and more plays. So that means more opportunities for touchdowns." So I love that. He's kind of putting the opponents on notice. He's saying, look, I'm a guy, he might not be what is it? What's the phrase? Master of none, right? He's I'm brain farting it. Scott hit me with it. You guys, and you hit me with it. It's he's good at everything, but is he a master at them all? No. But he's good at a little bit of everything. And the best thing for him is he's reliable. Mr. Producer hooking me up here. Jack of all trades. Yeah. Master of none. He is a jack of all trades on the receiving side of things. He can do a little bit of everything, right? You need him to be that X receiver that can use that big body, go over the middle on curls and slants and possess the ball and move the chains. He can do that very reliably. Ball does not, if it hits him in the hands, it's a catch. He can also go up and get the ball. Is he on a level of, say, a Cortland Sutton in that my ball, 50-50, turning it into a 60-40, 70-30? No, but he can do that. He can run out of the slot. He can do stuff underneath. He's a great route runner when he's healthy. There's our unfortunate little asterisk when he's healthy, but I'm excited. Greg says, and it's good to see you, big dog. Again, one of the OGs, so down for the Broncos that he's still flexing his AJ Bouye jersey from back in the day. I love it, dude. He says, is Tim Patrick a top 4 receiver on this team? Yes. If he's healthy. If he's on the roster, then the answer to that question is yes. Because if you do, again, there's two things that kind of give you a little bit of pause relative to the receiver room: inexperience and injury concerns. And the injury concerns fall almost solely at the feet of Tim Patrick. So if he's able to really prove it out there, and if he makes it to one preseason game, I'm knocking on wood. If he makes it to one preseason game before anything happens, or, without, I should say, anything happening, then home free type thing. He's not just top 4, he's top 2 or 3. If the Broncos had to play a game tomorrow, meaningful, we're going toward this one counts. Our jobs, our salaries, our places on the roster are potentially on the table. Yeah, he's one of the 3 receivers that is out there in base. Trust on that. Let's just hope he can stay healthy. We shall see. The other thing, again, is that inexperience. And people go, oh, well, the offense is lacking explosive receiving ability. To that, I say BS. Look no further than Marvin Mims, first quarter of last season before he got into Sean Payton's doghouse. And by the way, that doghouse corresponded, unfortunately, with the Broncos being hip deep in a brutal losing streak. They were 1-5. Well, they were 1-4. Pardon. They were 1-3 when they hit that week 5 mishap where he put the ball on the ground twice or was involved in 2 fumbling incidents. So Sean Payton didn't have room for error from that point forward, period. He had to really play it close to the vest. Mims didn't stay involved in the offense. But had he, dude, he was on pace for over 1,000 yards. He was pacing the league in yards per reception for the first 4 weeks. I mean, he's 25, 26 yards per catch. You tell me that's not explosive, and that's just straight line stuff. Remember, they weren't using him much in the screen game, trying to use that twitch and that wiggle that he displayed as a returner. That will happen more this year because the quarterback last year wasn't conducive to that kind of a timing, just get the ball to the guy, let the guy do his thing. Russ was like, hey, hit the back foot. How many Mississippi's are you at before the ball finally mercifully comes out? You're like 7, 8 Mississippi. And by then he's like scrambled both sides of the field. The ball comes out. That's not conducive to like capitalizing on guys who not only have that straight line speed, like say a Tyreek Hill, but also guys who have that short area twitch and quickness, that wiggle, like Tyreek Hill, who is kind of a freak, right? Well, Mims could be that guy too, but you just need a quarterback who understands that, can maximize that skill set. You got one this time around, Bo Nix. David, what's up, dude? Good to see you, big dog. He says, hey, I've been sick for a while. Just decided to send some love. Well, hey, I'm deciding to say thank you, my friend. It really does mean a lot. Seriously, every single super chat, every single star, it adds up. And I hope you know I do not take it lightly. I don't take it for granted. Each and every super chat, every single star comment on Facebook is appreciated and valued. You're numbered in my heart. Trust on that. Thank you, David. Really appreciate you, big dog. Arnold Serrano jumping in with a dope profile pic. It's like a Grateful Dead skull, right? And then he's got the big, the old vintage D, and it says respect something. It's dope. He says, Arnold Serrano, Yuba City, dope. Our offensive line is looking pretty good, but how do we look backup wise as far as quality backups? Well, okay. But again, it's not one of those things where you're going to have Pro Bowlers across the board, etc. The biggest thing is, do you have tackle depth, in my opinion? Do you have someone who, if anything happens to McGlinchey, I mean, McGlinchey and Bowles, they stayed healthy. McGlinchey got nicked up the last 2 weeks of the season. If the Broncos were in it in that season finale, he was playing. But because it was meaningless, they were done. They sat him. But up to that point, the entire starting five had not missed a start. Like it was a thing. So, but you still need to have a backup. I mean, Garrett Bowles has been hurt before, even though he's mostly reliable. He had that broken leg the year prior. And they brought in Matt Pert, a kind of journeyman veteran. We'll see. He'll compete with guys like Palczewski, Quinn Bailey, but they kind of view Quinn Bailey as an inside-outside guy. So my biggest thing is tackle, and I think they're okay there. They're about as good as you can really hope to be, I think. Seriously, you've got a solid top 15 left tackle to protect the blind side. You got a highly paid right tackle who, in his first year, he as a Bronco, relinquished a lot of pressure, more than you'd want to see. But remember who he was blocking for. Mr. 45 sacks, Mr. the year prior 50 sacks. Go back and look. Russell Wilson, literally, of all the high-profile quarterbacks of the last, we'll just say of the 21st century, I would submit to you that no quarterback has made life more difficult on their offensive line, and especially their tackles, than Russell Wilson. And so that's only a way of me saying, hey, listen, and Frank Crum, that's right, the undrafted rookie, but hey, he's an undrafted rookie. Sometimes they stick, most of the time they don't. Last year, Palczewski did. We'll see on Crum, but he's a monster. But in the case of Russell Wilson, dude, he makes life hard. So this time around, you've got a quarterback, even if Sean Payton kind of throws everybody a curveball and says, I'm going to go with Stidham the first couple weeks, whatever. Stidham, hey, those 2 games we watched, he started at the end of the season. Nobody's writing home about it, right? Nobody's going, hey, I'm on the road, I'm visiting Europe, and I just happen to be catching the Broncos game, so I'm going to write my brother and be like, yo, did you see what Stidham did? Nobody's doing that. But the ball came out on time. Was it even close to anything resembling an explosive offense? No, but the ball came out on time, and for the most part, it got to where it needed to go, etc. So that's merciful on any tackle. So I'm a lot more bullish about the starting tackle duo this year than I think popular perception is, because some of those nuances that I just went through with you are missed. Real quick, I want to give some shouts here to the Knoppers. What's going on? Albert Knoppers, the Mile High Dutchie, doing his thing in a tux, by the way, looking quite classy. He says, hello to everybody. Great to have you in the chat, big dog. Hope you're doing well. Give my best to Michelle, my friend. And then we got here the Ronk. We got a list. We got a list going here from the Ronk. Then we'll grab RD. He's dropping his, I think, depth chart. So this is like the Ronk's order of supremacy at wide receiver. You got Cortland Sutton, number 1. Marvin Mims, number 2. Troy Franklin, number 3. Josh Reynolds, 4. Tim Patrick, 5. Brandon Johnson. So that's who he's saying is making the roster. Interesting list. I'm not gonna try and dissuade you from that. I don't think Brandon Johnson is anywhere as yeah, you have him as the last guy on, right? Like he's the caboose, but I think you'll be surprised. All Tim Patrick needs is a little luck by way of the injury bug. And I know that's a big if, but just wait and see. RD, brother, up in Canada, north of the 49th parallel, proving that Broncos country is not a geographic location. You know what it is. He says, I think we're okay at tackle. I'm worried about center. Isn't that weird how we speak the same language? We're separated by a parallel across the globe. And he spells center correctly per the way he was taught English with the R-E, not the E-R. The Brits do the same thing. It's kind of funny. I love it, though. I'm worried about center, says RD. Who do you think starts? We have a rookie. Really don't want the pocket collapsing into his lap every other play. Yeah. Definitely don't want that, right? If you had Lloyd Cushenberry, probably that's what's happening. In this case, to answer the question, I think it's going to be, I think the leader in the clubhouse is Alex Forsyth. And at the end of the day, like, if I'm not a betting man, but if I were to bet, I'd be like, I'd bet a car payment on it type thing. Relatively confident. Am I betting a mortgage payment? No. Maybe a car payment. But we'll see, because you've got Luke Wattenberg factoring into that. You got the new guy. I'm going to brain fart his name. It'll come to me here in a second. But the veteran, at the end of the day, there's two things that really give Alex Forsyth the advantage, even though we've yet to see him take a snap in a meaningful Broncos game, right? He was a 7th-round pick last year, but he was a Sean Payton pick, and the Broncos felt like they got a freaking steal out of this guy. From the moment he was drafted, even though Broncos fans aren't seeing this dude, I mean, we got a glimpse of him in training camp, right? We got glimpses of him in the preseason, but Sean Payton just talking him up. We view him as a starter in this league, football IQ this, Then it comes time for leading up to the draft. He brings in Alex Forsyth to get the read on this Bo Nix guy. Give us your insider, because that's who he snapped to his final year at college. Forsyth snapped to Nix. That was Nix's first year at Oregon. Forsyth gets drafted. Nix goes on, has his even bigger year this past season, becoming a Heisman Trophy finalist. But I think that connection and the fact that he's Peyton's guy, and honestly, if you guys go back and read, Eric Trickle did an article recently, I think it was last week, breaking down kind of the center situation. It's a great read. And Luke Wattenberg, even though he also is a former and recent late round pick of the team, he just, when his number has been called, granted not at center, because Lloyd Cushenberry had that locked while he was here, but when Luke Wattenberg was put on the field, has been put on the field, it's like run the gamut from OMG, this dude shouldn't be in the NFL level bad, to like, you're watching like this. Okay, he made the block. Okay, cool. It's like that, like skin of your teeth, like holding on for dear life. But he did show modest improvement in the few snaps he got late last year. So he's going to be a factor. We shall see. Phil, what's up, dude? Tucson, love you, big dog. Saying good evening, Chad and Deacon Scott. I'm like Ron Burgundy. Deacon Scott? You know what I'm saying? Family birthday going on. Scott went like this, though, by the way. Family birthday going on. Just stopped in to say hi. Buckham MHH for life. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Give the best to our fam, and you got to tell us whose birthday it is. We'll wish him a happy birthday. We can't sing this song because, believe it or not, we'll get the YouTube monetization hit, but we'll definitely wish a happy birthday. Okay, and then, as far as like interior look, dude, you got two really good cats at guard. Ben Powers on the left, Quinn Miners on the right. We'll see who ends up being the swing guys, but I feel really confident and excited in this offensive line. Bobby Luna says, I'm going to the season opener this year with my wife and son, traveling from Texas. First time in Denver. I only ever get to watch us play in Houston. Where can I get info for the meet and greet? Well, right here, you came to exactly the best place to get the info, my dog, because I'm the one that plans it and organizes it and the whole 9 yards. So we're not doing it on the season opener, just so in case that was not known to you, Bobby. We're doing it week 2. Russell's return. That's what we're doing. And we'll be in the same spot we've been each and every time in the tailgate, lot D, I think it is off the top of my head. But basically what we do, Bobby, is we show up as soon as the tailgates get open, which is about 10 a.m. local time. And that'll be, if memory serves, it is an afternoon game. So 2 p.m. start-ish. So we'll get there 10 a.m. We'll get set up, get our booth up, get all our stuff locked and loaded, get the food out, get the coolers. You'll see the big MHH tent. It says hashtag state of being. You'll see flags with MHH logos and catchphrases and stuff blowing in the wind and whatnot. We're easy to find, dude. We're easy to find. Trust. So then we just hang out and have a good time and meet, talk to people. Sometimes we do content. We'll do like little mini pods sometimes we don't. Just depends on what's cooking. And then about 45 minutes before the game is set to kick, we break it all down, throw it in the back of the trucks and stuff that we got there. And then we go into the game. When the game's over, we come out. And if the campus fuzz isn't sweating us, we try to get a little gut reaction post pod right there from the stadium. But sometimes that's not conducive. We end up having to do it later from a different venue. But that's the plan, big dog. Week 2. What is that, Scott? September 15th, right? September 15th, I want to say, off the top of my head. So hope to see you there, Bobby. And if not, if we missed you, like 2 ships in the night, you're there at the stadium week 1. We're there week 2. We'll hope to see you next time, big dog. Really appreciate you. And hope you have a great time either way, my friend. Okay, there was one from, hold on, Scott's confirming. Yeah, 9:15. So September 15th, y'all. That's the word on the street. And it's just so happens to also be the official word. I saw one from String Guy. Where'd it go, dude? It's not a super chat, but I saw a good one from String Guy, but now I'm losing it. I should have started. Well, let's just grab this one. I don't think this is the one, but I'm going to grab it. I want to give him his props. Dadgummit. Yeah, Timmy P is a master of the clutch catch in big plays. That he is. Dang it, dude. Let me see. Throw up that other one you did for. Oh. Look at String Guy here. Maybe this is the one. Hey, Chad, it's no big deal. We've all come to expect you guys starting late. It's the offseason. Who cares? Yeah, we're fixing to change that, though, bro. We're fixing to tighten that up as we inch closer to meaningful action. So, yeah, I appreciate your guys' patience on that stuff. Michael Room jumping in on the YouTube saying, hey, how do you see the cornerback room shaking out? Outside of PS2, who are our starters? Who's the depth? And anyone have the potential to surprise? Well, you're starting from a pretty solid footing in that you not only have PS2, but you have a guy who emerged as arguably the best nickel corner in the league last year, if not, okay, maybe not the best. Don't get too far ahead of yourself, Jensen. Let's say top 5 nickel corner in Jaquan McMillan. And the Broncos love this dude. They love Jaquan. He's poised to reprise that same role, and they fully expect him to go on doing what he does as a coverage guy. But what makes him special is, like Chris Harris Jr. established himself as the best nickel corner in the league for about a 4-year stretch. He'd also play on the boundary, but what separates him from, say, Jaquan McMillan is Harris on the edges was a great tackler, but McMillan is a physical dude. Like, he's got like a linebacker's mindset, and that helps him in a lot of different ways, from, tackling in the box, being close to the big uglies, and, having to every once in a while maneuver around an offensive lineman. But he can blitz, and my favorite thing about him is that nose for the ball. My dude just has a nose for the ball. and it comes in handy. We know this. So that's a good starting point. Question is, who ends up as your boundary starter opposite of Surtain? And we know who the players are. There's 3 main players this year for that number 2 role. That's going to be Riley Moss, 3rd rounder last year. They're not giving up on Damari Mathis, especially with Jim Leonard coming in as the new secondary coach. And then the veteran they brought in from Pittsburgh, Levi Wallace. So that gives you a pretty solid top 5. Even if Mathis isn't ready to go as the starter, he's a great guy to have as a fill in if someone gets nicked up or coming in as a extra DB or whatever. And then Levi Wallace is kind of your veteran fail-safe if the young guys just aren't ready to step up. But I foresee Riley Moss winning that job. Or maybe I should say, I'll be disappointed if Riley Moss defies my expectation and does not win the job. But as far as potential to surprise, I think we all kind of know what to expect from McMillan. But I would tell you, Riley Moss, he kind of had a rough first year because of his rookie year, because of his injury issue. But Riley Moss is going to remind Broncos fans, oh, yeah, we did have a 3rd-round pick last year. That's right. Yeah. This guy, it's going to be dope. Okay, let me see here. Where are we at? We're at 26 minutes. Darth Brooks, a Sith Lord, jumping in. There can only be 2, right? The rule of 2. I don't know if you're the master or the apprentice, Mr. Brooks, but there can only be 2. So, and eventually, if you are the apprentice, I hope you do have to unalive your master. That's kind of a Sith thing, right? PFF, he says, ranking our receivers behind the Giants and Panthers, absolutely ridiculous. That's what I'm getting at, bro. The national perception on the Broncos roster, period, is that it's talentless, quote unquote, talentless roster. And then as you go through, the ubiquitous offseason unit rankings and this, that, and the other, across the board, the Broncos are getting dissed, right? And the receivers are the latest. Let them hate, Darth, and let them sleep, my dog. Let them sleep, let them hate. Like I said earlier, I think it's a flawed perception. And the biggest thing here that has everybody so alarmed is that, let's face it, dude, it's been slim pickings as far as passing offense in the Mile High City since Peyton Manning hung up his cleats. And, there was a little glimmer the final year that you had Demarius and Emmanuel Sanders, which was, well, it was technically 2018 before DT got dealt, but 2017, was it 16 or 17 that they both got 1,000? And that was without Peyton. It was Simeon mostly throwing on the ball. But I'm digressing. The point being, the perception of the Broncos receiving core / passing offense has been muted for near on a decade, right? And so it really takes like a bombastic show from an individual to start kind of, or a unit, but really most of the time it's from an individual to start kind of bringing back some of that shine from a national perspective. But then you throw into that constant quarterback turnover and just relative offensive instability. And you can't be surprised for that shade. George, what's up, bro? Great to see you on Facebook. Love you, big dog. I don't lose one wink of sleep over it. And we read earlier, Keith Cummings had a great article for us over the weekend here. Jaleel McLaughlin, the running back, confirming they see this stuff, man. They see the shade that the Broncos roster is getting, and it is fuel. It is absolutely bulletin board material. That's why I'm telling you, let them hate. All it does is serve the Broncos. Let them hate and let them sleep. It's okay. It's all right. It's going to be okay. Darth saying, again, glad I found this channel. Keep it up. Thank you, bro. And I'm glad you did as well. Sounds like you're a Star Wars weirdo, like your boy. I am as well. Although I got to tell you, my joy and passion and optimism for the universe Mr. George Lucas created has been greatly diminished since Disney bought Lucasfilm. And I don't see any hope on the horizon, unfortunately. It's just more drivel, one show after another. There was a brief glimmer with The Mandalorian, and then they went and whizzed backwards on everybody, so to speak. You know what I mean? So anyway, David Schmidt, what's up, dude? Thank you. Welcome. 6 stash, bro. That's a 6 stash. I give you props. He says, who do you think will get fired this season? VJ in Denver or Hackett in New York? Easy, bro. Hackett, New York. Listen, dude, if Sean Payton is not firing, I mean, Vance Joseph comes in here, as a rehire, a very recently dishonored and disgraced head coach failure. Sean Payton, in the face of all the PR blowback and the storylines that could risk impacting what he's trying to do with his team, he looks beyond all that, doesn't lose a wink of sleep over it, hires VJ anyway to be the defensive coordinator, has every excuse in the book in the first quarter. By the end of that first quarter of the season, people were begging him to fire Vance Joseph, and he didn't do it. And it turned out to be the wise decision, because what happened? Broncos went on a tremendous winning streak where if you didn't have that defense playing at, I mean, let's face it, they're punching above their weight class. They're playing with house money. We knew that, but still, you got to give credit where it's due. And when they're getting it done, you give them the credit. And VJ did that. So if he was, my point here, David, if Sean Payton isn't firing VJ after a historically ridiculously bad week 2 performance against the Dolphins, that only really was like a preview of what would ensue the following 2 games, even through to the week 5 Jets game. I mean, that defense let the Jets drop 31 on the Broncos at home. If he's not firing him there with every political scapegoating benefit of the doubt in his arsenal, he ain't firing him, dude. Hackett's that is the answer, my dog. And I know VJ, like my pard Zach, he has a much more absolute view on VJ. I'm not as down on VJ as my pard and a lot of people in Broncos country. I think there is more there than he is given credit. And I think he showed that he's got some chops. Just need a little time to put things together. And, the Broncos defense last year, personnel-wise, was not perfect. Yeah, you had a building block on Patrick Surtain. You had Justin Simmons, who got hurt early, and let's face it, took some time to build up a head of steam last year. Your starting strong safety, who was supposed to be your co-defensive leader, Kareem Jackson, was just like bullseyed by the fuzz, right? Getting suspended, flagged. I mean, costing the Broncos wins in the season opener, right, against the Raiders at the end of that game. I mean, lose him, you got to go to the well, bring in the young guys. But that's where sometimes the magic happens. It takes bad things happening at the top of the depth chart, suspension, injuries, sometimes failure to launch, for the team to go, okay, what do we got behind this guy? And then PJ Locke emerges, and you're like, oh my gosh, this dude's an animal. He's a beast. Goodbye, Kareem. Don't need you. See ya. But, the Broncos didn't have a pass rush last year, and they couldn't stop the run. And still, VJ helped keep the defense competitively relevant and plausible. And if it weren't for that takeaway, I should say, run they went on for that 6-game winning streak, despite Russell Wilson conjuring some magic late in those games and Cortland Sutton helping him along the way, the winning streak doesn't happen. Thank you, Ronk. Love you, big dog. Send great show tonight, chat on the MHH podcast. Go Broncos. Thank you, brother. I really appreciate you always helping to punctuate each and every episode. It was Scott reminding me and confirming it was 2016 with DT at the late great, and Sanders getting 1,000 with Simeon mostly. Yeah. So I'm just reading a couple notes here from Mr. Producer, but guys, I love you. I appreciate you. It's 33 minutes. Let me just see. Let me take one last scan through. See if there's a topic that intrigues me. Here's one. Joseph Malinowski on the tube of you. What's up, big dog? He says, question, is it me or is there too many people posting bad info? Because it seems like every other day there's another player wanting to come to Denver and play for the Broncos. Well, I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that last point of players wanting to come to Denver. I'm not sure exactly. I mean, signings here and there. I don't know exactly what you mean, but it's not so much that it's bad information, Joseph. It's that it's just bad opinions. It's uneducated, poor surface opinions. And I get it, dude. Honestly, I get it. Let me give you an example. I'm gonna drop some knowledge on you, and I'm gonna be brutally honest with you, okay? As a publisher on Sports Illustrated, powers that be, because I do really well with MHH, over the years asked me to take on other websites. I don't write articles on these other websites and these other teams across NFL and NBA like I do Broncos, but I manage staffs. I build a staff, and I basically take my model of MHH and I pass it along to the different sites. Okay, but when sometimes there's a gap in personnel, someone quits or I'm a little short staffed and there's news break, and I got to jump on it. I got to be the guy keeping the articles cranking, and the news has to be reported on. And I have to do like what I would call like, let's say news breaks on a Utah Jazz player gets signed, whatever. Okay. Cause I publish a Jazz website. Well, I don't know the first thing about that guy. I'm not going to lie. Probably, maybe depends on the guy, but in most cases, I know very little. I mean, I know who they are, obviously, but like, unlike Broncos and NFL, like Broncos specifically, like it's Rolodexed in my brain dating back to a child, 1983. I can just pull, it's like breathing. It's nothing. With that, I have to go, okay, here's the news. Now I got to go kind of like get some of the who, why, what, when, and where background information. And I'm just pulling surface information to make sure like it's a square article. That's what these guys are doing. Only instead of just passing on the news, they are trying to act like they're giving you hardcore deep dive analysis. I mean, think about it. You're a writer at PFF or Pro Football Network or name one of the national sites, okay? And your job is to cover the NFL at large on a microscopic level. Like you need to know every player on every roster across 32 NFL rosters. And it's this time of year, 90 dudes on the roster. You think you're going to be an expert? You can't be. It's literally impossible unless you're like Rain Man. And there are Rain Mans out there, like just savant level guys that can do that kind of thing. But by and large, it's very case by case. Example, you go, oh, well, what about the color commentary guys? Mark Schlereth, for example, Fox Sports, he'll get called to do the games. He's got to know everything there is to know as the game's happening. And that's true. But that's game to game, my dog. That's game to game. You got production packets. You go through, you do all your research, you gather that information, knowing that it's going to be Broncos Steelers this week or whatever. You get your pregame production meeting with the head coach of each side, the quarterback each side, a key player on offense each side, a key player on defense. And you're loaded for bear, dude. Like all I need to see now is what happens on the field. I'm good to go. But to be able to, as a national writer covering the NFL, you start getting into these lists. I mean, dude, it's just surface BS. There's nothing to it. They're not on the ground. They're not covering every day. Doesn't mean they're always wrong, but if you're going to wade out there into levels of extreme anything, like say, whatever my bottom 5 teams are in a ranking, let's say, let me just give you an example. If I'm a guy responsible for covering the NFL on any level, like at large, and I'm making a list, it's rosters, it's position groups, blah, blah, blah. I'm just crossing my I's, dotting my T's, so to speak. And I'm making sure those last 5 teams that I have ranked, I better feel at least pretty confident in those 5. But that's kind of a, end of sermon on that. But String Guy said, hey, Chad, totally agree about Disney. The app, I canceled it as well, both because they raised their price and mainly because the programming is crap. Also, my kids are grown now. I haven't canceled it. My little son, Theo, he loves Spidey. He loves like all the Marvel stuff. I'm trying to wean him on OG Star Wars stuff, but so far that bug hasn't quite taken. But he loves the Marvel stuff, Spider-Man, all that, Iron Man. So we keep Disney, but all I can speak to is just the Star Wars post George Lucas has sucked, dude. Sucked. And the official death of Star Wars was The Last Jedi. Fight me on it. I'll go to the ground. I'll go to the mat on that with anybody. That was the official death of Star Wars. But anyway, guys, it's been a gas. Yeah, like Dylan's saying here, a lot of Twitter or Insta pages that say report and then something happening. But what they really mean is opinion, or they have a take. most cases, hot take, etc. Well said, my friend. Well said. Yeah, don't worry about it, string guy. Those likes will come. It's all good. But likes do help us out organically. If you know what it is, I'll explain it to you really fast as I'm getting my ducks in a row here. Likes, when you like this video, I don't care if you're on YouTube or Facebook, it's not just showing the channel or the host or whatever that you appreciate what they're doing, or you like a take, or you like the episode. That's part of it. Sure, we love seeing it. It's always appreciated. But what it does is when that has a cumulative buildup effect, okay? So it's not just, say, 19 likes, it's 100 likes, and then it's 200, and then it's 300. That tells the algo bots, okay, the algorithms on these different platforms, people are interacting with this content. And who are those people? Okay, we know who those people are who are interacting with this at a high level. We're going to go ahead and take this if it's of interest, because they want to put things that are interesting to people in front of others, because it keeps you on their platform. That's how they monetize. That's how they make money. So they see all the likes and that adds up, and comments are just as good, by the way. And they go, okay, that's a qualitative statement. We're going to go put it in front of other people that match some of these similar demographics as the people who liked it. So when we say it helps us grow and reach like-minded Broncos fans just like you, that's the truth. It puts it in front of, it increases the probability of when Joe Blow, Broncos fan in Nebraska, next time he jumps on YouTube and he's filtering through his feed, it's much more likely that YouTube's going to suggest Mile High Huddle to him, or this episode, if that makes sense. So that's what we mean. Don't forget to like, subscribe. About 35% of you who watch every single episode aren't subbed on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button. Let's go. If you really like it, share it out there. You can connect on Twitter. Sorry, I gotta bounce your comment for a second here. Mile High Huddle podcast on Twitter. Connect with us. It is the MHH pod, at the MHH pod. Our main account at Mile High Huddle. You can connect on Facebook. We've got the main page, 16,000 followers, and then we've got the podcast page, Mile High Huddle pod. That's like, I don't know, 11,000 or something. You can get yourself a hat. You can get yourself a t-shirt, mhhmerch.com, another great way to support what we're doing here. And then also connect with us on Instagram. Speaking of which, I haven't given any of the Instagram peeps any props tonight. So hello, peeps. Hope you're doing all right. Appreciate you. Glad to have you with us. Leave us a 5-star review. Another great way to help us grow. And other than that, guys, I'll be back tomorrow night with Zach. The same old time, 6 p.m. Mountain, 8 p.m. Eastern. We'll see what the news cycle gives us on a Monday. Hopefully a little bit more than what took place and transpired over the weekend. But for my pard, Zach Kelberman, who couldn't be with us tonight, for Scott, I'm Chad Jensen. Love each and every one of you. Thanks for being with us. See you tomorrow.